All right. All right. So the tort law, wrongful act or infringement of a right leading to civil liability. It can be intentional or unintentional. Now, healthcare people, uh, I'm trying to think of the right word, do or perform intentional torts all the time. Have you ever heard somebody say something like, this is the way you would approach a patient for vital signs? Mr. Mahone, I need to take your vital signs now. Is it okay for me to touch you? Have you ever heard that before? That somebody, well, you better do that or you could be charged with assault. No, there is no district attorney in the world who's going to charge you with a crime of assault because you were taking a person's vital signs. Now, here's a caveat to that and why people say that. Because you know what somebody did? They walked into a room, they didn't identify themselves, they grabbed somebody's arm and threw a blood pressure cuff on there. And the person said, why are you touching me? So now that person walks out with an attitude, or the medical person walks out with an attitude, and now they're telling other people, you better ask before you touch somebody. You could be charged with assault. Now it's probably because your silly ass walked into a room, didn't identify yourself, started grabbing on people. So how does it really play out in the world when done correctly? If you're seeing that person for the first time, introduce your damn self and tell them who you are. Hello, Mr. Mahone. My name is Robert. Doctor wants me to go on and get your vital signs. And when the person pulls their sleeve up and sticks it out, sticks their arm out like this, that's called consent. I don't now have to say, can I touch you? So good afternoon. My name is Robert. I'm a medical assistant here. Doctor wants you to have an injection. And the person rolls up their sleeve. That's called consent. So identify yourselves. Tell them who you are, not just, your name, but who you are. I'm a medical assistant. I'm an LVN. I'm an RN or whatever. And what I need to do. And when they pull up their sleeve or stick out their arm, that's consent. You don't now have to say, can I touch you? So who are the people out there perpetuating that idea? Those people who walked into somebody's damn room, grabbed them without identifying themselves.
What if they're paralyzed?
What do you mean if they're paralyzed?
Like if they can't move?
Okay, they can move their arms or blink their eyes or something. Some kind of implication that, yeah, it's okay to take my vital signs. Or to simply say no. So the point being that, why are people saying that? Because somebody walked into a client's room or into an exam room, walked right over, grabbed their arm, and started putting a blood pressure cuff on there. And the person got huffy with them, like I would. Like, are you going to identify yourself? Are you going to tell me why the hell you're putting your hands on me? And they walked out of that room now with an attitude. You better ask, or you could be charged with assault. Okay. Truth of the matter is that would be rare to happen if you do what you're supposed to do. Now, if you walk into my room and you say, "Hi, Mr. Mahone, my name is John. I'm the PCT here," and your badge is turned around where I can't see it, I might have a problem with that. Or if you got stickers on your ID badge or pins to cover up your picture because you don't like it, yeah, I might have a problem with that. I think I mentioned last module as well that at the VA, that badge better be visible and readable. And they have right down underneath the ID badge, they have a little extension down there, and it's in big letters, RN, MD, PCT, MA, whatever you are, to make sure that people know you have the authority to be walking around that building putting your hands on people. And if your badge is not visible, people will stop you in the hallway. Other employees. excuse me, can't see your badge. And that's how every place in every healthcare agency, as far as I'm concerned, in the world should be. Can't be walking around here with your ID badge turned around where people can't see who you are, but you walk around putting your hands on folks. So anyway, and it did bite them. It did what bite this one lady in the butt one day, y'all. I went to an appointment and I had my scrubs on. I was at the VA, but I was teaching at Quest, but I had scrubs on that day. So I'm on the elevator. This lady gets on the elevator and she looks at me and she says, "Where's your badge?" I said, "Oh, it's in the car." "You're supposed to have your badge on at all times." And da, 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 da. "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I don't work here." "Oh." Yeah. So anyway, sometimes it can bite you in the ass, but as far as their job description, they're required to ask if they see somebody who's not wearing a badge. It's a security thing. So yeah, I would be pretty blah blah blah. So anyway, tort law, wrongful act or infringement leading to civil or legal liability. Either you did it on purpose or you didn't. It was intentional or unintentional. And under the tort law, we see these things again: assault and battery. You did me wrong. You hurt me. Yeah. So again, a punch that knocks out a tooth, gives you a bloody nose, black eye. You hurt me. It's a tort. Now, what happens when where do these things overlap? Well, if you paid attention, I mean, over the years to court cases and that type of stuff in the news, then you'll know that O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. But then he was found civilly liable. So even though he was not charged with, or he didn't go to jail, the family sued him. And that's where some of these things overlap. Once you prove that this truck driver was drunk driving their car or driving the truck, yeah, the truck driver is going to go to jail for drunk driving. But when they hit your car, they hurt you. Now you have the civil lawsuit. You don't have to even go in and prove anything now because he's already been charged with drunk driving and has gone to jail. Now you can sue the trucking company and we'll have no resistance to it. So that's where we get the overlap. Something can be a crime, but it's also a tort. You hurt me. You're robbing a liquor store and you shoot me in the leg. I'm a customer and you shoot me in the leg. Yeah, you assaulted me. You hurt me. So once you're found guilty, yes, they was you. Yes, you did do it. You're on your way to jail. Now I'm open to sue because you hurt me. So the two do overlap between being criminal and a tort. If you hurt somebody, it's a tort. So assault and battery also fall under tort. What if somebody grabs your butt while you're walking, you're standing on the bus stop. Somebody comes up, stands next to you and grabs your butt. Is that illegal? Nope. Sorry. No, it's not. So what do you do then? You sue them under the tort law. Okay. You touched me and I didn't want you to. So you sue them for sexual battery. Now, if they hurt you, then yeah, it's rape. So anyway, there's a fine line between the district attorney filing charges or not, and then what charges they do file. And one of the things they're going to be looking at is how bad did it hurt you? Yeah. So assault and battery also fall under torts. Now, you do those on purpose. They're intentional. Defamation of character. And then duress and fraud. I forgot, we're going to talk about each one separately. So assault, there's your definition again. There can be a physical assault, verbal assault, or believe it or not, guys, there it is. Assault by text. Now, how dumb is that? To put your threat in writing and give them a copy of it. You might as well write it down on a piece of paper, sign it, and give it to them for them to take into court. Do people do it? See, guys, let me tell you about these phones. These phones are just as they are as harmful as they are good. Have y'all seen First 48? Right? Where they go, oh no, I was never there. Oh really? Well, your phone pinged on the cell tower in that neighborhood at dot 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 dot. If you're going to commit a crime, leave your damn phone at home. There are people who have dropped their phones at the scene of the crime. So anyway, yes, young lady walked into my office, a Kaplan. Said, Mr. Mahone, look at this. And she showed me the text. Said, I'm gonna kick your ass after class, or don't let me see you in the parking lot. I'm gonna kick your ass. All right. And I asked a young lady, and this was after the law was put in place in 2009. It became illegal to to text a threat to somebody. So I asked a young lady, you want me to call the police? She said, yes, sir, do. Called the police. They came over to school and arrested the young lady. So don't begin into putting your threats in writing and stuff. You know how you threaten somebody? Whisper in their ear. When I was a drill instructor, you know, all the yelling and screaming and all that, all the other I mean, I would just walk up to you and whisper very quietly. And that's more intimidating than all the yelling and screaming, to have somebody walk up and just whisper to you, I'm going to kick your ass after school. That's more intimidating. So don't be like yelling your threat on people and putting it in text and that type of stuff. It'd be like, what'd you say to the person? Oh, I just said that I really liked the sweater she was wearing that day. It's just stupid to threaten people in front of other folks. So harming, threatening, or harming or threatening to harm another person. Physical assault, verbal assault, I'm gonna kick your ass, or assault by text. And then battery, physical battery and sexual battery, unwanted touching. Okay, so now defamation of character, a catch-all term for any statement that hurts someone's reputation. And that comes two ways. Either you write it or you speak it. It's still a statement. Mr. Mahone's a crackhead. That could be defamation of character. If it hurts me in some way. For example, you say Mr. Mahone's a crackhead and then I get fired from my job. I can sue you for defamation of character if it's not true. Like at the school, when they said, oh, Mr. Mahone's a pervert, he walked in the bathroom downstairs, and they called upstairs and told my boss. Now, if my boss had taken that seriously and fired me, oh, that's lawsuit, big time. But remember, in any type of lawsuit, the first thing you're going to have to prove is that it hurt you. So why didn't I have a lawsuit in any way? Because it didn't hurt me in any way. I didn't lose my job. My wife didn't leave me. I wasn't banned from the building or anything like that. So if it had hurt me, yeah, I could have sued that building and the security guard who went around flashing my photo to people and that kind of stuff. It had hurt me in some way. That would have been a lawsuit. So libel, they spoke it, and then slander, libel, they wrote it down. Slander, they spoke it. So yes, they did slander me at the building, but it didn't hurt me. So it would have been considered a frivolous lawsuit. When the first thing the judge would have wanted to know is, Mr. Mahone, how were you hurt by this act? I lost my job, Your Honor. Okay, successful lawsuit. So know the difference between which one is written, which one is spoken, libel versus slander. They're both defamation of character, but know which one is written and which one is spoken. All right, so where's Roxanne? There you are. Okay, I got Roxanne. I got Talisha. Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. I have Karanisha, and where's Jordan? Jordan. I don't see Jordan. I have Yordell and Renisha. About Jennifer is here, and so is Davion. Jaime's not here yet. Jasmine is, let's see, Jasmine, there's Jasmine. Linda is here. Melissa is here. And got offline a little bit. Where's Vanessa Pargas? Vanessa. There she is down there. All right. And then Vidalia is here, and Selena. Selena, do I see you? Where's Selena? I don't see Selena. All right, Selena. And then Angel Meyer is sick. Alma is here, and Crystal is here. Savannah is here, and Dee Dee is here. How about Angel Ramos? Angel, you here? Angel. There she is.
Mr. Mahone,
Yes.
there's a chat from Selena in the messages right there.
Okay. It says what?
It says that she had to log off, but because she had to help her son get logged in for his first day of class.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just say. Okay. All right. So thank you. Guys, I do appreciate it when you, there's an issue with you attending, if you send me an email and let me know what the issue is so that I can get that included in my email. So that was Jordan. Stop. Out of the 3 stations below. All right. So let me do this part and just going to Aguilar. All right. For what's today? The 24th. And we have Jordan Carter. Jaime. That's it, right? All right. Good. All right. So I need a potty break. So let's take 10 minutes, come back at 5 after, and we'll continue. Okay. 5 after, 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes or so. Yes, I'm really liking my chair. Get y'all. I'm so comfy right now. Anyway, y'all should get y'all one of these, man. This is nice. Makes you feel important. You know.
Mr. Mihal,
But
Didi Wilson said that she's here. She don't think you can hear her.
okay. Hey. All right. I see you now. All right. So all right. So anyway, know the difference between the two types of defamation of character, written or spoken. Libel is written and slander is spoken. And that's why news channels, they always try to seek a second source before they print a story about somebody. Because if they print something that's not true, it could, they could be sued for slander, or something that's not proven, they could be sued for slander. And remember, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's true or not. Can you prove whether it's true or not? And if you can't prove it, it's slander or libel if you speak it or if you write it. All right. So anyway, defamation of character. Know the two versions of that. Next would be duress. Threats, violence, constraints, or other actions brought to bear on someone to do something against their will or better judgment. Define it in your notes as having undue influence over someone's decision. In other words, you're influencing whether they do it or not. You could have a confession thrown out of court if you can prove that the confession was made under duress. In other words, if you don't confess to this, we're gonna get the death penalty for you. Isn't that a threat? Yeah. So somebody might confess based on that threat. So if you're threatening somebody, you are beating them up in the room trying to get them to confess, then that confession will eventually be thrown out because it was gained under duress. I like this picture right here. The reason that I put that picture there is because it made me think about The Godfather. Anybody seen the movie The Godfather? If you haven't, y'all, you're missing classic theater right there. Okay, is the premise. I mean, hell, real gangsters started basing how they do things based on what they saw in the movie. Yeah. You had John Gotti and those other real gangsters out there, real Italian mob guys, all said that The Godfather was like a guide for them on how to be a gangster. So anyway, in the movie, they were at the wedding. It's one of the opening scenes of the movie. They're at the wedding, and the girlfriend asks Michael Corleone how his father helped the singer with his career. And Michael said, yeah, he went to see the guy with Luca Brasi. And Luca held a gun to his head. And my father assured him that either his brains or his signature would be on that contract. So the guy signed the contract under duress, under the threat of, I'm going to shoot you in the head if you don't sign this contract. So that's duress. You have undue influence over somebody else's decision. Now, how could that come into play for us in healthcare? Of course, we're not going to be holding a gun to somebody's head. But what if we say something like, if you don't have this procedure, you're going to die? Is that duress? It could be, if somebody could go into court and prove that was a doctor's opinion and not fact. Uh, for example, if you have end-stage heart disease and they tell you that if you don't have a heart transplant, you probably won't survive, that's probably not considered duress because it's true. But imagine a young lady walks into your clinic and asks about abortion. She's 15 years old. And rather than just telling a young lady that we don't do that here, Okay, you have to go to Planned Parenthood. You start getting up on your high horse. And you girls, what are we going to do with you girls? Just getting babies, having babies. You know, abortion goes against God. You know, abortion is killing a life form. You know that every girl that has an abortion regrets it later on, and da da da. And that child walks out of there and decides not to have an abortion. And then 10 months later, they find the baby in a trash can. Now, this girl is in a lot of trouble, but her lawyer is going to try to shift some of that blame. We know the girl is in trouble, but let's shift as much blame as possible. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're probably going to go into court, and they're going to stand up and they're going to talk to, and everybody's going to be like, find the little girl guilty, da, da, da. We know she did it. She confessed and blah, 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 blah. And in their closing arguments, her lawyer is going to say something like this: ladies and gentlemen, my client, even at 15, even at the tender young age of 15 years old, she tried to be responsible and take, responsibility for her actions. But a healthcare professional talked her out of doing the responsible thing. We wouldn't be here today if she had not met Mr. Mahone, who talked her out of having that abortion. Now, I'm not saying my client was wrong, but I'm saying that when a child seeks advice, they should get competent advice as opposed to someone else's opinion. This person talked my client into doing the wrong thing. And they're going to shift as much of that blame on you as possible. So again, that's where we sometimes get into this area of duress. We start guilt tripping somebody. We guilt trip somebody into doing something. That's also other action. You guilt trip them into doing something that you think they should do. Okay. So having undue influence over someone else's decision. Now think about this. Is it ethical for a doctor to treat their own family members? What do you think? Somebody said no. Anybody think that that would be okay?
I think that they would have a biased opinion and maybe be hesitant to reveal or disclose
Yep. Yeah.
certain health issues.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um, would you go to your dad to ask about child birth control? If your dad was your doctor and you were 15 years old, would you go to your dad and say, Dad, I need birth control? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. In my house, you get that smack upside your head. What the hell you talking about birth control? Remember I told y'all my dad had the cure for ADHD. He called it an ass whooping. So no, you're not going to go to your dad and ask for birth control when you're 15 years old, okay? Or you actually ask your dad about, abortion to dad. Well, what, dad? What if I'm pregnant? No, hell no. So they have an undue, they have an outcome, an investment in the outcome of your decisions. So imagine if my wife, if I was caring for my wife medically, and she comes to me and she says, babe, I want to have another baby. And I say, okay, well, let's go on and get you on this fertility drug. Turns out I'm giving you birth control because I don't want another kid. Or I talk you out of pursuing the da da da. So anyway, have I seen doctors who treated their own family members? Yes. Have I always had a problem with that? Yep. Yep. Like the doctor who comes downstairs and says, I'm going to sew my baby's head myself because baby got a little cut on their forehead. Yeah, I do have a problem with that. They even asked me that one day when my son was I was coming back, and it was a rough day, y'all. We had just taken a little girl downtown. She had died, drowned in a bathtub. And when I came back, we were covered with vomit and blood on my shirt and all this. Coming back into the emergency room, and the doctor meets me outside. As right as I step out the ambulance and walking towards the building, the doctor's walking towards me. And he walks up and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "We have your son in the emergency room." And I was like, "Oh shit, what happened?" Well, his freaking sister, man. They playing Toro in the house, Toro, Toro, and he's the bull, Toro, Toro. And she thought it would be funny to put the drape right in front of the damn door. We had a ornate glass front door. And she's got the thing like right in front of the freaking door. So here he comes. Toro, Toro, bang, right in the damn door, cracked his freaking cut his forehead. So anyway, the doc even actually said, "Do you want to sew him up?" Oh, no, we got good people. They can sew him up. So anyway, no, you should not care for your own family members or anybody that you have a relationship with. What would you do if your neighbor walked in and you're sitting at the front desk, your neighbor comes in for an appointment? What do you think would be the ethical thing for you to do?
Check them in and get your coworkers to help, like actually see them.
You know what I would do? I would get a coworker to check them in. Because when you're checking them in, aren't you asking them what they're there for? What if they're coming in to be tested for STDs? You see what I'm saying? It can be a precarious situation. So because if, let's say that somebody in the neighborhood, another neighbor goes over and says, "So how was your appointment yesterday? How did you know I had an appointment? So-and-so must have told you." And there you go. There's your lawsuit. Even if they might have just seen them walking in the building, but they're going to assume that you told them. So what would I do? I'd get up and walk away. Oh, good morning. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Listen, I'm going to have Valerie's going to check you in. She's going to get you taken care of today. And I would excuse myself from the whole scenario. And at least, and if something ever comes up, you can always be in court and say, "Well, no, I excused myself from the treatment. I didn't." What do they call it in? Is it recuse? But there's a legal term for lawyers who step away from a case because they have a personal interest in that. You recuse yourself from it or something like that. But there's a legal term for it. But I'd get up and walk away and let my coworkers check in and take care of you. Yeah. So having undue influence over someone's decision is called duress. If somebody let's say a person comes into your clinic and you think that this might be, they bring their kid in, and you think that this might be an issue of child abuse. Can you stop them from leaving the hospital with the baby? No. No. There's only one organization out there that can take your child away that can take somebody's child away. And that's the Department of Health and Human Services. Police can't even do that. So the police will stay there with you and the kid, and they'll call DHS. And DHS will come out and take custody of the kid. Police can't even do that. So no, you cannot stop them from leaving that hospital with that kid. And if you try to stop them, you could be charged with duress, having undue influence over their decision to leave the building. You can't make somebody stay. And that's also why, by the way, vaccines are not mandatory. Nobody can make you have a health treatment. When you think of it that way, you see how dumb it is, or how inaccurate it is for somebody to say to you that childhood vaccines are mandatory. Childhood vaccines are a medical treatment. Who the hell can force you to have a medical treatment? Nobody. So childhood vaccines are not mandatory. They're highly recommended, but not mandatory. Okay, so having undue influence over someone else's decision is duress. A common charge against healthcare people is fraud. Fraud is an attempt to deceive someone. So if you're lying, it's fraud. And where does it come from? And for us, hell, people signing off paperwork saying they did something when they really didn't. And the most common case of that is probably vital signs, what we call pencil whipping. Usually not an issue in clinics. It's going to come more into play on wards. So PCTs, you're going to see it out there. Somebody who walks into a patient's room comes out with a full set of vital signs. You go back in there 20 minutes later to drop off the person's lunch tray, and the person says, well, they usually do my vital signs before they do my lunch. You know, didn't so-and-so just do your vital signs? No, she came in and talked for a minute, but she didn't do the blood pressure and all that like they usually do. You go back out there and you check the form, and yeah, there's a blood pressure written in there. Guess what? They pencil whip the vital signs. When we call where you just go in there and you write down numbers. That's pencil whipping. I've seen it done, guys. I don't know why. One day it was a night shift, and it was the 2 o'clock vital signs, 2 a.m. Guys, you do not want to go in there waking patients up. I mean, you got to turn on the light, and they got bad breath and da-da-da, and they're annoyed with you because you have to come in and do it, and blah, 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 blah. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Who the hell wants to do that? It was the 2 o'clock vital signs. The guy I was working with, we grabbed our clipboards and we headed towards our rooms, and he went into his room and I stepped into mine. I mean, I'm looking at him as we walk into the 2 rooms. He's going into a 4-bedroom. I'm going into a 2-bedroom. By the time I finished those 2 sets of vital signs and walked out, he was already standing at the nurse's station running his mouth. Now, how in the hell did he do 4 full sets of vital signs faster than it took me to do 2? And I'm not slow. Remember, these are 2 o'clock vitals. You want to get these done and get the people back to sleep. So how in the hell did he do 4 patients in less than the amount of time it took me to do 2? He didn't. He pencil whipped them. I went down just out of curiosity, and I glanced down. The clipboards hang on the wall, you know, where you write everything. So I just kind of glanced at his clipboard, and yeah, they were all filled in. But there's no way he did 4 sets of vital signs that fast. He pencil whipped them. And then, you know, they justify by saying things like, well, you know, this patient has been on the ward for 6 months and their vital signs haven't changed the whole time they've been here. So why wake them up at 2 o'clock in the morning and take them? Let me tell you why. I walked into a room to do the 2 o'clocks. I came on the 11 o'clock shift, so everybody was already asleep. You know, I just kind of glanced in the rooms, nothing going on. So you let them sleep till the 2 o'clock vitals. So there was a new patient I hadn't seen before. I walked in to do his 2 o'clock vitals, picked up my clipboard from the end of the bed, shined my flashlight up, and this dude was sitting up in bed, hands crossed in front of his, on his abdomen like this, sitting up, looking straight at me, deader than shit. And I shined the flash. It's so much that when I went to just, with the pen lights, I just kind of swept up a little bit. And it scared me. It shocked me a little bit. And I was like, dude. He was dead as shit. Had this long white beard too, y'all, kind of like Fu Manchu. And they're like, and I checked. I was like, oh, man, this guy's dead. Checked the record. He was a DNR. Okay. Now, the thing that's odd about that is that later on they estimated that his time of death was about 9 o'clock or so. But when I looked down, there was a set of vital signs done after his estimated time of death. Matter of fact, a couple of hours after. So somebody did vital signs on a dead man. They probably didn't even look at him. They just walked in, picked up the clipboard, wrote down a set of vital signs, and walked out. Didn't even look at the patient because they would have seen him. He was just sitting there. So anyway, that's the most common instance of fraud, signing off stuff that saying you did something when you didn't. Like every morning you come in and you check the medication refrigerator and you record the temperature. You sign off the crash cart. One day I was walking out of the hospital on my way to lunch, going out the front door. The pharmacy counter was right there near the front entrance to the hospital. So as I'm going out, a lady just collapses right there in front of the pharmacy counter. So I go over and she was in fibrillation. Her heart wasn't beating. So we started CPR on her. And I told the person, call down the emergency room, get the crash cart down here. And as I'm doing CPR, I'm waiting on the crash cart because there's a tube that I need to put down the lady's throat. Once I get that tube down there, I don't have to hold her head back. Okay? And we can just concentrate on doing CPR. So I'm waiting on the crash cart, which also has the defibrillator on it. And it's taken a couple of minutes, and I finally see the crash cart out in the hallway. Somebody's running down the hallway with it. Now, I don't recognize this young lady, so she didn't work for me, but she's running down the hallway with the crash cart. You don't run in hospitals, y'all. I know you might see that on TV, but you don't run in hospitals. Can you imagine you come around? A crash cart is like if you've seen the red toolboxes they sell for like auto mechanics, that's a crash cart on wheels. And you're running down the hallway with that. What happens if somebody steps out in front of you? Yeah. So you don't run in hospitals. But anyway, she's running down the hallway. I was like, really? Now she gets down to where I am and she turns the crash cart to try and position it next to me. But the momentum carries the thing over and the whole thing falls over on the patient and me. Big red toolbox falls over on us. The defibrillator, which sits on top, bang, crashed onto the floor. That's why you don't run with shit in the hospital. But anyway, we sort through all this mess on the floor now, and I finally get to what I was looking for, called a laryngoscope, to get the tube down the lady's throat. I put the laryngoscope together, a little light didn't come on. You need a light. Took it apart, put a new blade on there, still didn't come on. Took the batteries out, put the extra batteries in there, crashed the laryngoscope, still didn't come on. So I just yelled, somebody get me a laryngoscope. So the same young lady takes off down the hallway. She comes back about a couple minutes later. Here's a laryngoscope. I opened it up. It was a pediatric laryngoscope. It's used for children. I need one for adults. So I say, can somebody who knows what they're doing, please go get me a damn laryngoscope? Then somebody finally went down to the OB clinic, got the laryngoscope. We got it in. We got the lady defibrillated. She survived. But now I want to know who signed off my crash cart this morning, because that involves checking the laryngoscope and making sure that it works. So I'm back in my office. I've got the little checkoff sheet in front of me. So-and-so, come on in and say, listen, did you check the laryngoscope this morning? Yes, sir, it did. And it worked. Yes, it did. Okay. Now, how come when I went to use it just a couple of hours after you supposedly checked it, did it not work? And that person looked at me and said, did you put it together right? That's like the computer people asking you, is your computer plugged in? Take that with you. Okay. Anyway, so I Gomered that guy. He was gone. Gomer, for you new folks, Gomer, get out of my emergency room. Get out of your homes. Hell, you think you're doing? Did I put it together right? No, you tripping. So anyway, somebody pencil whipped my crash cart that morning. Walked in, and instead of going through every drawer, checking all the expiration dates, firing up the defibrillator, making sure it works, putting the laryngoscope together, making sure it works, they just pencil whipped it. Okay. And we're not going to have that. All right. So anyway, fraud, an attempt to deceive somebody. I know y'all looking at that picture. Who is that dude right there, man? And why do I have his picture right there? Looks a little bit like George Washington on the dollar bill, don't he? All right. So anyway, who is that guy? His name is Bernie Madoff. He ran a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme is when you take money from an investor. Say, for example, give me $500, and 6 months now, I'll give you 700. It's an investment. But rather than take your money and invest it in stocks, I take your money and pocket it. So how do I pay you back? Hey, you right here. Give me $1,000, I'll give you 1,200 back. And then I take the $1,000 you gave me, pay it to that person right there. That's a Ponzi scheme. I'm going to pocket a little bit of what you gave me, but I'm going to pay them off. So now I owe you $1,200. These two people right here. Y'all give me $2,000 a piece. I'll give you $2,400 back in 6 months. Some of that comes to me. The rest goes to pay this person off. That's a Ponzi scheme. You're taking these people's money to invest, but you don't invest anything. You're just using somebody else's money to pay them. And eventually, some of these people are going to lose their money. But that's okay, because you keep getting paid and they keep getting paid. So these people who enter down here at the bottom, they lose everything. That's a Ponzi scheme. And this guy ran a Ponzi scheme involving thousands of people and billions of dollars. And he ran it for 30 years. How smart you got to be to do some shit like that? 30 years of, I got to pay this person this and this person that, and convincing people. Now, if I go back here and I say, give me 500 and I'll give you 1,000, shit, that's a pretty good return. So what does this person do? They put their 1,000 back in. Well, I'll give me 2,000. Yeah, okay, I'll put this 1,000 back in. And keeping track of all that. Who's got what money in and who is expecting to be paid and who's just coming in and . And he kept track of that for 30 years. Thousands of people and billions of dollars. This guy was a financial genius. If he'd have directed that kind of effort towards real investments, hell, he probably would have been just as successful. But when they busted him, people lost old money. Remember me using that term before? People who had been rich for generations ended up living in state-run nursing homes and things like that. He ruined a lot of people. People committing suicide and shit. And yeah, he did go to prison, and he died in prison. His name was Bernie Madoff. And the joke was, what happened to all your money? Bernie Madoff with it.
I seen his episode on American.
His real name, Madoff. And Bernie made off with all their money. There's actually a movie about it where Robert De Niro plays this guy, Bernie Madoff. But anyway, billions of dollars, y'all, that he, when they raided his home to try and get, or his assets to try and get some of the money back for these people, this guy had like 35 Rolex watches and, you know, hundreds of pairs of Italian shoes that cost a couple $1,000s a pair, the Bentleys and the Maybachs and all the different properties. I mean, this dude had money everywhere, and they still only got back a small portion of what he robbed from people. So anyway, that's fraud, an attempt to deceive somebody. And for us, it's going to be something simple as like signing off some shit that we didn't do or something like that. Okay? But remember, it doesn't matter the level. Okay? What if you steal? We'll be talking a little bit more about this week. If you steal $5 from somebody or from someplace, does that make you a thief? If you steal $5, are you a thief? So the amount doesn't matter. You're still a thief. You feel me? So if you pencil whip a set of vital signs, you go, well, it was just a set of vital signs. You're still a dishonest person. So it speaks to your character. So will I let you go if I think you pencil whipped my crash cart? You better believe it. Because it tells me what kind of person you are. So the crime itself might be something insignificant. You took somebody's lunch out of the refrigerator at work. In my mind, you're a thief. And I don't want thieves working for me. So I'm going to let you go. It speaks to your character. And we'll be talking about character through the rest of the week. We have the rest of our professional development. And character is a big part of what we're going to be talking about. So that's fraud, an attempt to deceive someone. Now, those are examples of intentional torts. Assault and battery, defamation of character, duress, fraud, or all you do all those on purpose. The other type of tort is an unintentional tort. You do it by accident. You didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Something like malpractice or, an accidental death or something like that. Like, who was it? I think George Bush shot his brother-in-law during a hunting thing they were on. They were on a hunting thing. His gun went off and he shot his brother-in-law or something. And they deemed it an accident. So anyway, you either did it on purpose. Now, see this boat sitting up there? This is what the investigators have to decide now. Did this boat malfunction? Was it an accident, or were you drunk out there on the lake? In which case you would be charged with a crime. If the boat malfunctioned, the rudder got stuck, the motor, da-da-da-da-da, you wouldn't be charged with a crime. But you still hurt this person. Or you hurt their property, you hurt them. So you might not get charged with a crime here, but you might be charged with an unintentional tort. You didn't do it on purpose, but you still hurt me. All right. All right. So the most, where is this going to affect us as unintentional tort more than anything else? Malpractice. Y'all have heard the term before. Mal means bad, but it also means abnormal. So if you go against the standard of care, you provide an abnormal treatment for this person, something that other doctors wouldn't have done. It's considered malpractice. Like, and even if there's some science behind it. In other words, somebody comes in and sees you because it burns when they pee. You diagnose them with a UTI and you send them home and tell them to take cranberry juice. They come back 2 weeks later, it still burns when they pee. You find out that it wasn't a UTI, it was actually a urinary stone. It's malpractice. Bad practice or abnormal. You did something unusual. Michael Jackson's doctor, who gave him an anesthetic to sleep. How odd is that? I think I've mentioned that when you're under anesthesia, you're not asleep. We mentioned that last module. When you're under anesthetic, you're not asleep. That's why you're tired after surgery. They do surgery on you, you come out of it, you're tired because you weren't asleep. You were unconscious. So Michael Jackson's doctor was putting him in a state of unconsciousness every night. And he was waking up in the morning just as tired as he was when he went to bed. It wasn't sleep. And when you tell another doctor that, wait, somebody gave somebody some anesthesia to sleep? No, that's not right. That's where your malpractice lawsuits start happening. And did Michael Jackson's family have a good lawsuit against that doctor? Yes, they did. I don't know whether they sued him or not, but he went to prison. And once he went to prison, that just opened the floodgates for civil suits. Remember, it's already been proven you did wrong. We sent you to jail. Therefore, in the civil suit, we don't have to prove anything. It's already been proven. like with O.J. Simpson. It's already been proven that you were involved. Therefore, the lawsuit was successful. All right. So 3 phases or 3 types of malpractice, and you should know these 3. The first is malfeasance. In this form of malpractice, you did the wrong thing to the person. You were supposed to take out their kidney, but you took out their liver instead. You did the wrong thing. They had a UTI or they had a kidney stone and you treated them for UTI. You did the wrong thing, malfeasance. The second type is called misfeasance. You did the right thing, but you did it incorrectly. You diagnosed them with UTI, but then you treated them with cranberry juice rather than antibiotics. And there was some harm done by that. And that's misfeasance. You did the right thing, but you did it incorrectly. The person couldn't breathe, so you cut their neck right here. If you remember from last module, you don't cut right there. You cut up here. So you cut their neck, like you were supposed to, but you cut it in the wrong place. And they died as a result of that cut. Misfeasance. You did the right thing, but you did it incorrectly. And then nonfeasance. Nonfeasance is most often referred to as negligence, and it's the most common lawsuit against healthcare people. You did nothing when you had a duty to act. Now, who determines whether you had a duty to act or not? Other doctors, or the oath of the medical assistant, or whatever they use as their guidance. Now, duty to act. If you are a doctor on an airplane and the stewardess gets on the overhead and says, "Is there a doctor on board?" Do you have the duty to identify yourself and say, "Yes, I am a doctor"? Do you or do you not? What do y'all think? Yes, you do. You cannot sit there and just keep your mouth shut because you're tired today. You have to say, "Yes, I am a doctor." Would you be charged legally? Probably not. But could you be sued by that person's family? Yes, they could. And could you lose your license to practice? Yes. That's going to be the biggest thing. The American Medical Association will come after you hard. They're going to throw the book at you, and they're going to take away your license to practice. So, how many of y'all, any of y'all CPR certified? Have a CPR card? Okay. If you're walking in the mall and somebody collapses in front of you, do you have a duty to act? Legally, no. Ethically, yes. So would somebody charge you with a crime because you didn't identify yourself as a CPR trained person and you just kept on shopping? No, you wouldn't be charged with a crime. But American Heart would say, "Right, wait a minute. Why would you have a card in your pocket and not want to help somebody? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your card away. And since you can't work in healthcare without American Heart CPR certification, there you go. You can't work now." And that's true. You cannot work in healthcare without having American Heart CPR certification. Not Red Cross. It has to be American Heart. So if they take away your CPR card, you can't work. Sorry. How many of y'all are the type of person who would stop at a car accident if you saw one and if you thought you could help? Would you stop and help? Okay. I don't see a lot of hands, man. What's wrong with y'all? Okay. But notice my hand isn't up because I will not stop. There's a reason for that. Because I've been a paramedic for 20 years, I would be expected to perform at the same level as a paramedic who shows up on the ambulance. So I could be sued. You can't, because you would be working under what's called the Good Samaritan doctrine, which says that if you stop to help, the person can't sue you, no matter what you do. I mean, as long as you don't do anything like kick them in the head or something. But if you're trying to do the best you can't be sued for that. Now, there are some caveats to this. Once you've been trained, you're expected to perform at a certain level of expertise. So if you have a CPR card in your pocket and you're doing CPR, the Good Samaritan law doesn't apply to you because you've been trained. So for me, whatever I do out there, I could be sued for. The Good Samaritan law doesn't apply to me because I've been trained. Now, what if you have a CPR card, but the person is gushing blood out of their forehead, and you do the best you can, but they end up dying? Could you be sued for that? No. You could be sued for doing CPR incorrectly, not for anything else you do. So it's looked at like, you know what? This person is doing the best they can to try and help you. And then you're going to turn them around and sue them because they made a mistake at something. That's what the Good Samaritan law prevents. But once you've been trained, it doesn't apply to you anymore. So if you got a CPR card in your pocket, you better do CPR correctly. Otherwise, you could be sued for it. So that is nonfeasance. Knowing when you have a duty to act and what level you're expected to perform under. One day I was sitting on San Pedro waiting to drive from one of the side streets out on the San Pedro headed to lunch. It was about 11:30, quarter to 12, something like that. And there wasn't a single car on San Pedro, y'all. That's kind of odd. But anyway, this one car comes up over the hill. This is right off of 410. As you go up this little hill down and then all the way down San Pedro. This car comes flying up over that hill, y'all. Had to be doing 70, 75. A car on the side, the car that I was actually waiting for was on the other side of San Pedro, pulling out, turning right. I was waiting on that car. Pulled out, this car came over, boom. I hit that car from the side so hard that it was a little like pickup truck thing. Knocked that pickup truck over at least 3 times. Boom, 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 rolling down San Pedro. And I'm the only one out there. And I'm thinking, shit, man, there's no other car. Oh, damn. Do I want to get out of my car and go deal with this bullshit? I got out the car, y'all. I'm walking across San Pedro thinking, now see, this person's probably not breathing and shit. You know, who the hell wants to get involved with this? The car up, the little pickup truck is completely upside down. And I'm like, oh, man, damn. So I got down and I looked in the car, and the dude in there was laying on, you know, the top of the car, inside, but laying on the roof, just boom. And I'm like, oh, damn. I mean, this was a whale of a dude, y'all. I mean, boom. I'm like, oh, come on, really? So I looked in there, I said, sir, can you hear me? And the guy goes, Robert, is that you? Son of a bitch. I knew this dude. I went to school with him. His name was Jim. And if Jim didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have no luck at all. He was an alcoholic, and he was drunk. And that's why he didn't get hurt in the accident. The other dude that hit his car was up walking around, so I told him to sit down and wait for the ambulance to show up. Jim crawled out of the car on his own. Because remember, drunk people usually don't get hurt very bad in a car accident. They tend to bounce around in there. Where the rest of us stiffen up and break bones and stuff, they tend to just bounce. And Jim bounced. Three rollovers with Jim bouncing around in there. Robert, is that you? And he crawled out. So anyway, I sat there till the ambulance showed up, and then I left. But anyway, negligence, the most common form of healthcare, of malpractice, is negligence. We didn't do something when we had a duty to act. You were helping a person stand up out of bed and they fall. Which one of these 3 would you be charged with? Would that be malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance?
Misfeasance.
Anybody else? Nonfeasance.
Malfeasance.
Nonfeasance. It has a fine line, but think of it this way. Was it your job to keep them from falling down? To help them safely out of the bed? Yes. You'll be charged with negligence. So that is the three. Know the three and which one is which. Malfeasance, you did the wrong thing. You went to give them an injection and you gave them the wrong medicine. I did that once. It was a vaccine. It was in the, I was in the immunizations clinic for a short period of time. Over in Greece, they were shutting down the base. So everybody was shipping out of there. They wanted to keep just enough people there to keep support for the people that were still there. So I went up to Germany, got cross-trained in the immunizations and came back, and the immunizations tech shipped out and I was handling immunizations until the base closed. It was Well Baby Day, and we had a whole bunch of babies in there with mamas and daddies and babies screaming and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm giving vaccines that day. So I said the baby's name. The father said, here we are. We got up, we went in the back, I gave the vaccine, and then was telling the father when the baby needed to come back for the next vaccine. And he said, I thought that's what we were having today. And I said, now wait a minute, I called for a baby so-and-so. And he said, oh, I thought you said da-da-da-da. Are you kidding me? He answered to the wrong name. Whose fault was that?
The parents.
Nope.
Is it yours because you didn't double check and verify?
Yep, it's my fault. Even though the father answered to the wrong name, came up with the baby, it was still my fault. So anyway, we documented everything. And the good news was that the bad news was that the baby had to have today's vaccines. The good news is that the vaccine that I gave him didn't hurt anything. He just needed to have another shot today. So that right there was a lesson learned in a situation where there was no major consequence to it, but it was still a lesson learned for me. So that's only happened to me once in my career, giving somebody the wrong medication. But that is misfeasance. Malfeasance. You did the wrong thing. Misfeasance, you give the vaccine, but you give it in the wrong place. You did what you're supposed, you did the right thing, but you did it incorrectly. You gave a baby a vaccine in their shoulder. We don't give babies vaccines in the shoulder. We give them in the thigh. So you did the right thing, but you did it incorrectly. And then nonfeasance, doing nothing when you had a duty to act. And of course, in court, the thing that they're going to have to prove is that you did have a duty to act. Did you have a responsibility in this case? All right. This is a term that I want y'all to know. It's pronounced res ipsa loquitur. Res ipsa loquitur. And it has to do with lawsuits. And what it means is literally the thing speaks for itself. In other words, what you did was so obviously wrong that we don't need an expert witness to come in here and tell the jury why it was wrong. For example, you give somebody a medication and you give them too much. It harms them. We're going to have people come in and say, number one, was it the right amount? Did you give too much? And if you did, how did that hurt the person? So we need to kind of teach the jury so that they can make an appropriate decision. In this case, the thing you did was so obviously wrong that there's no teaching of anybody, like what you see in the image right there. You show this to a jury, and I don't have to sit there and bring in another doctor or expert witness to tell the jury why that shit is wrong. It's obviously wrong. Res ipsa liquitor, the things are loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. It was so obviously wrong. And that is not a picture of a pair of scissors inside somebody. Y'all, x-ray techs just don't have a whole lot to do sometimes. So what they'll do is they'll lay the scissors down on the table, then they'll lay on top of it and take the x-ray from above and make it look like the scissors are inside you. Okay. So when you see things like that on the internet, don't get like real, oh. No, it's fake. It's actually is a pretty interesting story about this. Anybody ever watched the TV show MASH? Anybody ever see that? The Korean War and the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital and dot, dot, dot. They had an episode from a real case from the Korean War where a patient came in, they did the x-ray, and they saw that there was a grenade inside the person, an unexploded grenade. And they used that episode on MASH, or they used that scenario on MASH. Now, in the TV show, they had Hawkeye, you know, the #1 doctor, and then Hot Lips, the #1 nurse. Of course, they go out into this bunkered area and they come out with the grenade and somebody running, da, da, da. Okay. But in the real scenario, it wasn't as dramatic. They bunkered off the whole little area, and one of the doctors and one of the nurses volunteered to go in there and take that grenade out, and they opened that guy up and they couldn't find the grenade. Turns out he was laying on it. It was underneath him. So that is, of course, they couldn't do that on MASH. They had to make it out where it was really inside the guy. But the real scenario, they did surgery on the dude when they didn't have to. Because the grenade, he was laying on it. And they were too dumb to think, wait, maybe is that underneath him? They got so excited when they saw it that they're like, oh my God, set up a bunker and we need to go in and be heroes. And da, da, da. They turned out to be fools. Thought they were going to be heroes. But anyway, that is res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. And in a lawsuit case, we just start asking, how much money? If a lawyer could walk in with this and go, jury, listen, there you go. How much you going to pay my client? There is no guilt or determining guilt here. It's so obviously wrong. All right. And this is one where the insurance company is going to try to get you some paperwork real fast. Yeah, listen, sign this and we'll give you $500,000. But you got to sign this right now. This offer is on the table for 15 minutes. And if you contact a lawyer, we're going to take the offer off the table. That's why the fours and all them, that's why they want to call you. They want you to call them right away. Call them from the accident scene. So you don't have the insurance company calling you, telling, we'll give you $100,000 right now, but you can't call a lawyer. That's why they do that. Try to get that settlement done quick because they're looking at res ipsa loquitur. The thing was so obviously wrong. Let us just pay you some money before you have a lawyer coming in talking about $5 or $6 million. We'll give you $100,000 right now, but you can't contact the lawyer. If they're telling you something like that, what do you think you should do? No, thank you. I'll just call the fours. Or the eights. Remember the eights? And it's the eights too, y'all, by the way. You can call the fours, 4444444, or you can call 8888888. But anyway, call the lawyer. Do not accept that settlement. And that's what they're trying to tell you. Right now, I have insurance for concealed carry. And the organization that I'm with, I'm supposed to call them from the scene. They have I have a card in my wallet that I'm supposed to give to the police when they show up. And the card says, I do not want to answer any questions without a lawyer present, and my lawyer is on the way. This is a nationwide organization, no matter where it happens. So in 2 weeks, when I go up to St. Louis, if I get into a shootout with somebody, I call this national number, and somebody from a lawyer from that area will show up at the accident scene. They don't want you talking to people, y'all. So remember what I said. Keep your mouth shut. I don't want to answer any questions without a lawyer present. All right, so it could be something as stupid as, so Miss Mahone, why did you kill this man? Well, I shot him because of da da da. But anyway, res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. All right. Now, we said that the most common lawsuit against healthcare professionals is negligence. So the four things that are going to have to be proven in a negligence case is on the screen right there, called the 4 Ds of negligence. And you see they're in red. Okay. The 4 Ds stand for duty. So the first thing they're going to have to prove, let's look at this sore on this person's heel. This is the heel of a person's foot. And this is what they're suing you for. This happened to my daddy while he was under your care. All right. So the first thing we're going to have to prove is that it was your duty to keep that from happening. So the lawyer will argue that this is a decubitus ulcer, which means a bed sore. And they're going to bring in other people to say that, you know what, in order to keep this from happening, all you have to do is pad their heels or rock and roll this patient, change their position every 2 hours, and this won't happen to them. This is a bed sore. Okay. So yes, it was your duty because a person was under your care. Now we have to prove that you were derelict in the duty. You did not pad this person's heels, and you didn't change their position every couple of hours. How do you prove you did? We call it the rock and roll sheet. It hangs on the end of the bed, and you go in there at 2 o'clock, put them in this position. 4 o'clock, change them to that position, and you document that continuously. We bring that in to show that, yes, you did rock and roll this patient, but that happened anyway. I'm going to make it any better, but at least you did what you were supposed to do. But typically what they're going to do is come in and show that you didn't do this. So you were derelict in your duty. Did that dereliction cause damages to the patient? Well, that's where we're looking at res ipsa loquitur. The damages are obvious. So that's a part that's just going to be proven right away. But now the last part, we have to prove that your dereliction did actually cause those damages. What does that mean? Because you didn't rock and roll this patient, that's what caused that ulcer to happen right there. And that's where we need expert witnesses for. But then the other attorney, your attorney, could bring in an expert witness that says, no, that is not a decubitus ulcer. That is a diabetic ulcer. And there was nothing that you could have done to stop that from happening. Yeah. The lawsuit is not successful. This was not caused by your dereliction. All right. So the 4 Ds of negligence. First of all, was it your duty to keep this from happening? Were you derelict in that duty? Were there damages to the patient? And were those damages actually caused by your dereliction? Prove those 4 things and the lawsuit will be successful. So know the 4 Ds of negligence: duty, dereliction, damages, and direct cause. And let's take a break and then we'll do contract law. It's about a couple minutes after. Let's come back at 10:15. All right. Oh, my wife and told me yesterday that they've decided that while I'm gone on my little vacation, they're gonna have them a girls' day. Her and my daughter's girlfriends, and they all gonna go out drinking tequila and all this mess. Now, so I'm not going now, see, because I don't trust you like that. Be out there drinking with her, so with her daughters, having her women's day, girls' day, or whatever. I don't trust them, y'all. Anyway,
Are you sure you're just not upset about the Walmart thing still?
what Walmart thing?
The comment she made at Walmart?
Oh yeah, I'm still yeah. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that one. So there was some commercial on TV for sexy underwear for men. I was like, babe, you gonna give me some of that? Not till you come back from your trip. See, got me a jealous woman. That's good. Good to have a jealous woman. Gotta, keep the fire burning a little bit. Let her know, stop taking me for granted. Gotta go off every now and then for a week and then come back and act suspicious so she don't take me for granted. Anyway, contract law, as it implies a contract between two people or two entities. And contracts can be written, verbal, or implied. For example, when you ask somebody if you can take their vital signs and they stick their arm out like that, that's an implied contract. They didn't say anything, they didn't sign anything, but they implied that it's okay. Rolling up the sleeve for an injection is an implied contract. Okay, so can a paramedic, let's say your kid falls off the jungle gym at the park, and one of the kids calls 911. The ambulance shows up, but you're nowhere to be seen. Can the paramedic work on your kid without your permission?
Yes.
If it's a state of emergency, I believe they should be allowed.
Yes, they can. Yeah. It's an implied contract. Is that somebody called 911, therefore a contract exists. Now, let's say we got your kid in the emergency room and we are working on the kid when you walk in. We stop all treatment while the doctor comes out and talks to you. Don't get me wrong, if we're doing CPR back there, we're not going to stop. But let's say we're setting up to sew a cut on your kid's forehead. When you walk in, we stop. The doctor comes out and talks to you, gets your permission to do that, and then we do the procedure. So we work under implied contract until you show up and give us verbal permission, and that's a verbal contract. Okay. Now, some people have issues in healthcare with what we call abandonment. So before we discuss that, let's talk about, I got a little bit of ahead of myself. Let's talk about the three parts of a contract. And they include the offer. I'm Dr. Bob. I'm accepting new patients down on San Pedro in my family practice clinic. That's the offer. I offer to treat you. I'm a OB-GYN doctor. I'm taking on new patients. I will deliver your baby for you. That's the offer. The acceptance is when you call and make an appointment with me. Yeah, I want to see Dr. Smith to deliver my baby. You've accepted my offer. Consideration means you pay for it. So I will sell you my car for $500. I will buy your car for $500. Offer, acceptance. Consideration is when you pay me the $500. Offer, acceptance, consideration. Now, healthcare is one of the few places where you enter a contract just by showing up at the building. You come in for an appointment with Dr. Smith, you having a contract with Dr. Smith. You haven't signed anything. You haven't signed anything that said, I want Dr. Smith to deliver my baby. No, you showed up for the appointment. So we have a contract now. Now, let's say that I offer to deliver your baby. You accept that offer. I do all your prenatal care and all of that. And on Saturday night, when you show up at the show up at the hospital to have your baby delivered, I'm nowhere to be found. Is that breach of contract? Yep. You show up down at university, tell them, yeah, Dr. Smith is my doctor, is going to deliver my baby. They're trying to get in touch with me. They cannot get in touch with me at all. You have a breach of contract. You offered to deliver my baby and you weren't there to do it. It's a breach of contract. All right. So,
I have a question about that, Mr. Mahone. This is Vidalia.
uh-huh.
When I had my first child, I was put into like curled up position to prevent her from being born because the doctor wasn't present in the hospital. So they shut my legs and did all that.
No, bullshit. That is bullshit. No, you deliver babies. Matter of fact, as a matter of fact, that's a joke in healthcare. A joke we tell that if you don't want the baby delivered, you grab the lady's knees and hold her knees together. That's a joke. That's how ridiculous it is. We use it as a joke. No, you don't put somebody in a position to keep them from delivering until their doctor gets there. That's bullshit.
Well, I have
Right?
a follow-up question for that because I've been considering a lawsuit for both of my deliveries, and they both went differently. But with my daughter, she ended up being born with deafness and seizures and whatnot. And they claim it was because of a blow that I took to the stomach, which induced the labor. Part of me is under the understanding that it was because of all the pressure from them refraining her from being born.
Remember that it's usually a 2-year statute of limitations on medical malpractice lawsuits. Usually. Now, it doesn't mean they can't override that, because what you would have to prove is that you didn't know what they did was wrong until now. Okay. So if you can convince a jury of that, then that 2 years, or a judge of that, then that 2 years won't apply. So you have to prove that they told me, I accepted it. I didn't know it was wrong until I started doing a little studying on my own, because I'm in school now and I've just realized that they should not have done that. And the judge may extend that 2 years. But no, you should not try and pause a delivery while waiting for a doctor to arrive or something like that. Okay. Or waiting for your doctor to arrive. There were plenty of doctors in that hospital that could have delivered your baby. Yeah. Now, what if I say, okay, yes, I'm accepting new patients, and I take you on as a patient. You come, or you sign up, or you come in, you schedule an appointment with me, and I take you on as a patient. We now have a doctor-patient relationship or contract. But I have so many patients that you can't ever get in to see me. You call, yeah, I need to see Dr. Bob. Oh, Dr. Bob doesn't have any appointments until January. What could we call that? That's abandonment. And that's suable.
So I have a question on that. If you go to a facility where there are multiple physicians in that facility and say, I have an appointment with my PCP, but I can never see that PCP directly, they usually have me see another physician within the clinic. Is that a loophole for that law?
That's what that word means, locum tenens. A doctor who sees my patients when I'm not available. So that's what I have to provide as a physician. If I'm not available, there's got to be somebody in my stead that has access to your medical records and all that that can see you in place of me. And that's what I have to do. For example, if I'm a doctor and I have to go to New York for my mother's funeral, I have to make sure I provide locum tenens for any patient who might need me when I'm not there. And that's why so many doctors go into practice together with other doctors. You will be locum tenens for each other. And I don't have to like arrange that every time I want to go somewhere. So if I'm a doctor by myself, a private practice down on San Pedro by myself, then I'm going to have to provide locum tenens anytime I'm out of the area. I want to go up to the lake for the weekend or whatever. I have to provide locum tenens, anybody who will see my patients for me. So that is why they often go into practice together to avoid that scenario, having to actually provide somebody like that all the time. All right. So now, barring an emergency, I mean, hell, I've been in a car crash and I'm unconscious over at University Hospital. Of course, I can't come to Santa Rosa and deliver your baby. So, barring any unnatural or emergency circumstances like that, I need to be available. And if anybody who thinks you want to go into OB, medical assistance, you think you want to go into the OB-GYN profession, guess what? Those calls are going to come at 4 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as the doctor gets the call, they're going to call you. Hey, you're Adele, meet me down at University. Miss So-and-so is ready to deliver. Okay, get up, rub the sleep out your eyes, get dressed, and drive down to University Hospital. Now, as a medical assistant, you won't be part of the delivery team. You'll be the one there with the birth certificate and getting all the paperwork squared away and for the doctor. Yeah. So, but you will be called down with your doctor. So if you want to go into OB-GYN, just know that there you go. When the doctor gets called, you get the second call. All right. So they had a problem with that at the VA for a long time, where you would call the VA hospital, tell them you need an appointment to see a doctor, and they would tell you, well, our first available appointment is on December 12th. Like, wait a minute, dude, it's August. Well, yeah, that's our first available appointment. Okay. You know what they were doing? They have a requirement by law to give you an appointment within 30 days. So how in the hell are they giving you an appointment all the way down in December? Here's what they were doing. They were scheduling you for December, and then on the appointment sheet, it has a little block that they can check that says you requested that date. So that's what they were doing. They're giving you appointments 2 or 3 months down the road and then indicating that you asked for that date. And they got busted. And the head of the VA was fired, and they went and they revamped everything. Now they have VA clinics over at I haven't been to the VA hospital or the VA clinic, the Frank Tejeda clinic. I haven't been over there in a couple of years. My doctor is now over at the, that mall up there. What do they call it now? Is almost closed down, right up on 410 and 10, where the Target is. What do they call that mall? Whatever. But
Where's that?
The Mall of the Americas. It's the Mall of the Americas. It used to be called
I used to say that too. It's not the Mall of the Americas. The Mall of the Americas is in Nebraska. That's the biggest mall in the world. That's the one that has the roller coasters and stuff inside.
It's in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah. That's
but they did change the name. I believe that they're trying to build it to that, but I'm not sure. It's half empty right now.
But it's not the Mall of the Americas. I used to say that too. It's the something mall. But anyway, they have VA clinics in there now. And that's where my VA clinic is located, in that little mall right up there on 410 and 10. That's why, and they're outsourcing so many different appointments. Y'all, I am 57. You're supposed to have your first colonoscopies at age 50. I didn't have mine until I was 55. Why? Because I was waiting for the VA. Yes, we're going to schedule your appointment. Yes, we're going to get you in. It went 5 years before they finally outsourced it to a place in town called the Gastroenterology Associates. And they actually did my colonoscopy. So the VA is notorious for being behind like that. Okay? And they finally got some issues against them, where the director was fired, a bunch of other people were fired, workers were fired because they were checking that box that said you asked for that date. That's fraud. They went back and found a lot of those and charged those people. And nobody went to jail, but they fired a shitload of them. All right. So the three parts of a contract: offer, acceptance, and consideration. Our offer to treat you, you accept the offer, and then you pay me for the services. So you see again, that is in red. And then locum tenens, the doctor who covers for you when you're out of pocket for whatever reason, whether you're on vacation or somebody's wedding or funeral or whatever. They cover it and they see your patients for you while you're not there. All right, so also think about this now. What if you are a medical doctor and you go to a party? What do you think is going to happen as soon as somebody at that party introduces you as Dr. So-and-so? What's going to start happening at that party? Oh, you're a doctor?
Start asking advice.
Yeah, you're a doctor? You know, my grandmama got. And did you know that if that doctor gives you any type of advice at that party, it's the same as if they've seen you in the office, which means they could be sued for the advice they give you at a party. So now you know why doctors don't want to discuss any type of medical stuff when they're off at a party somewhere, when they're at the club or sitting up in a restaurant. They don't want somebody walking up asking them because they could be sued based on their answer. And all it takes is a lawyer to ask in court, so Dr. So-and-so, how many drinks did you have at the party? So you were drunk. So you were under the influence of alcohol when you gave my client this advice. And there's your lawsuit. So one guy came to my party, a party we had at our house, and my wife introduced him to somebody. Yeah, this is Dr. What was his name? Dr. Torrance. This is Dr. Torrance. And he both said, please don't introduce me as doctor. Just Bob. Please, just Bob. And that's why. Because as soon as you say doctor, oh, my grandmama got this, or my cousin got that, and so on. And the same thing for y'all too, by the way. And that's why I tell my wife, don't be out there talking to people at Walmart. I tell my wife because she's the only one who's still seeing patients. I don't do that anymore. But somebody walk up to you in Walmart, hey, Yordell, how you doing? Oh, hi, Miss So-and-so, how are you? Hey, girl, listen, you know, that stuff that doctor gave me, you know, it's just not working. Do you think I should come back in? That's where it's going. And do not ever see a client out there and say, hey, how you doing? Because they will freaking tell you. Yeah, that stuff, it's just not working. What do you think I should do? And they'll be putting you in a position of giving advice there at the freaking Walmart, at the flea market or whatever. And whatever you tell them, remember, you are a medical professional. That stuff can be brought in court now. So that is what contract, three parts of a contract, and what locum tenens means, the doctor that covers for you. Malpractice lawsuit caps. Caps being short for capitation, to cut off the top. The maximum amount a physician can be sued for in any case, no matter what they did, they can't be sued for more than this amount or a particular amount. And I just wanted to ask right here if you would be in favor of or opposed to lawsuit capitations. For example, if they propose a law in Texas, and remember, y'all wouldn't get a chance to vote for this. This would be a bill that would be put forth by a Texas senator, a state senator, that would say $1 million is the maximum you could sue a doctor for in Texas. You wouldn't get a chance to vote for this. The legislature would vote on it and pass it or not pass it. Would y'all be in favor of lawsuit capitations?
I would say no, because every case is different.
Mhm. And there's only one entity out there that benefits from lawsuit capitations, and it's not the doctors. It is the
The person who's being sued. Oh, insurance.
Remember, doctors have to have malpractice insurance by law. So it is not the doctor who will be paying this off. It's the insurance company. So how do you think that got to be a bill in the first place? Remember way back here? Boom. The insurance company pays this politician to introduce a bill that favors them. So that's how this stuff works. So that is how that bill got introduced in the first place. Hey, Dr. So-and-so, yeah, listen, I represent blah, 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 insurance company for malpractice insurance for doctors. And I'd like to talk to you about blah, blah, blah. And we've got $1 million to put into your reelection campaign fund. So that's how I got on the docket in the first place. And then they'll try to bully or scare other lawmakers into voting in favor of it. All right. So medical malpractice lawsuit capitations, I just don't believe in those. I really don't. It should be looked at every scenario. And sometimes lawsuits are intended to sue your ass out of existence. In other words, it's not just about punishing you. It's making sure that you don't get a chance to do this again. Sue you out of existence. And that's why you might every now and then hear about outrageous lawsuits, like this lawsuit against the tobacco industry for $900 billion. Who the hell can pay that? 2 L's in billion. Who the hell can pay that? Nobody. So why even sue for that amount? To make sure that you can't pay it and to sue you out of existence. You have no choice but to file bankruptcy. So sometimes lawsuits are designed to ensure that this company is no longer in business out there. We bring a $20 million lawsuit against a doctor. That doctor's not practicing anymore. That's all there is to it. The insurance companies won't take him anymore. As opposed to $1 million. You see these malpractice insurance companies, you know how much money they make? $1 million is nothing to them. They'll pay for your lawsuit. You move to Texas or to Oklahoma and go right back into business again. So it's not punishing enough. It doesn't sue people out of existence. So malpractice lawsuit caps, people just say, well, people just trying to get money. Well, you killed my mama, man. It's not about the money. It's about suing your ass out of existence. So I'm opposed to those, but they do exist in some states. Luckily in Texas, we don't have these. But you go to a state like, I don't know, North Dakota, the maximum you could sue might be $500,000. Depends on the state and what legislation they passed. All right, malpractice defense. The first is going to be that thing we've already talked about. The medical record. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. And if you did write it down, It happened exactly the way you wrote it. Diligent documentation, y'all. If you work at a nursing home and a patient tells you just flippantly, I might as well just kill myself. Guess what you better do? You better write that shit down somewhere. You better take it to the manager and say, Dr. So-and-so, nurse so-and-so, Miss Jones just told me that she might as well kill herself. You better make sure that makes its way into the medical record. What if it doesn't? And Miss Jones kills herself 3 months later. Family's got you in court now. Now you got some smart ass lawyer standing there telling you, did Miss Jones ever say something like that to you? Well, yeah, she did. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. And why didn't you, inform somebody of that? Well, I didn't think she was serious. You think she's serious now? That's all it takes. So you better be diligent about your documentation out there, guys. If there is some law or regulation regarding your documentation, must be signed off by a physician within 24 hours or something like that, you better make sure that's being followed through on. And be diligent about what you're writing down about people. And the second thing is this one right here. It's pronounced respondeat or respondit, either one is fine. Respondeat or respondit superior. What it means is that definition, let the master answer. Now, what does that mean? It's under this doctrine that we sue. If a truck driver hits your car, you don't sue the truck driver, you sue the trucking company. Let the master answer for it. If you make a mistake as a medical assistant, they don't sue you, they sue the doctor or clinic you work for. Let the master answer for what you've done. And that's why a doctor out there can hire anybody they want to work for them. If I'm a medical doctor, hell, I can have my daughter be my medical assistant. Because any loss, trained or not, she can be my medical assistant. Because any lawsuits are directed at me anyway. So, and when I'm hiring people I don't know, then yeah, I'm going to look for certified people, But my wife could be my office manager. I can hire anybody I want. It's my license that's on the line. So that's responding superior. They're not going to be suing you personally. They'll be suing the doctor or the organization that you work for. All right. Now you see this over here, 360 milligrams of Toradol. A real scenario that I know about. A doctor ordered that a nurse administer 360 milligrams of Toradol to a patient. She administered that. The patient's heart seized and he died. And now they're in court. So, nurse so-and-so, how much Toradol did you administer to my client? I administered 360 milligrams of Toradol. And why did you do that? Because that's what the doctor ordered. You think you're out of trouble now? Because that's what the doctor ordered? No. Because the question is going to continue. So have you ever administered Toradol to a patient before? No, I haven't. Okay, thank you. You can step down. And then I'm going to call Renisha, somebody who does the same job you do, and I'm going to ask Renisha. So, if a doctor ordered medication that you'd never given before, how would you prepare to give that medication? Well, I'd go and look it up, see what the maximum dose is before I go, what the side effects are, what it's expected to do, what is not expected to do, before I give it to a patient. So if you saw that the normal dose of Toradol was 60 milligrams, and you saw that the doctor was ordering 360 milligrams, then I'm going to look at the jury, 6 times the normal dose. Would you question the doctor on that order? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to call you back on the stand. Why didn't you look up that medication before you gave it? And guess who I am? I'm not the family's lawyer. I'm the doctor's lawyer. And what am I trying to do? I'm trying to shift as much blame off of that doctor as possible. Yeah, the doctor made a mistake, but you should have caught that mistake. Why else do we have you here? You're a backup for the doctor, and you failed your doctor. And I'm going to do as much as I can. Doctor's going to lose their license. I'm trying to keep the doctor from going to jail. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shift as much of that blame on you as possible. And that's a real scenario. The normal dose of Toradol is 60 milligrams. And the nurse administers 6 times the normal dose because the doctor wrote 360. All right. And did that nurse lose her license to practice? What do y'all think? Absolutely. And I'm not, for sake of shortening the story, I only called 1 witness. But actually, they're going to be about 10 or 15. And I'm going to keep calling them in there. So, Linda, how long have you been a nurse? Have you ever given a medication that you, for the first time? And what did you do when you gave that medication for the first time? I looked it up, Well, thank you very much. Well, come on in, Crystal, have a seat. How long have you been a nurse? And what would you do if you were given a medication for the first time? And I'm going to keep doing that until I have the jury convinced that you did wrong. You shouldn't have given that medication without looking it up first. So that's responding superior. Let the master answer. And just because a doctor ordered something doesn't mean that you're right in giving it. Anybody ever seen a movie called It's a Wonderful Life? It's an old movie with Jimmy Stewart and and the angel comes back after he tries to commit suicide. The angel comes back, takes him back in time and shows him what life would be like if he hadn't been born. And in one scenario, there is when he was a kid and he was a runner for a pharmacist. The pharmacist would give him the medication and he would run it to the people's houses. And one day the pharmacist was just overwhelmed with stuff and the kid was standing there watching and the pharmacist was like, okay, you need to go on. And he filled up the medication. You need to go on and take this to Miss So-and-so. And the kid said, sir, and the pharmacist started yelling at him, do what I told you to do. Take the medication to the patient. And he still refused. But sir, the pharmacist actually slapped him in the face. Do what I told you to do. And he just stood there crying. And the pharmacist said, what is wrong with you? He said, you put poison in the jar instead of the medicine. He saved the lady's life. Then if he hadn't been born, that lady would have died. So as an example of, again, being the backup and saying, doc, you really want me to give this lady 360 milligrams of Toradol? If they say, Mahone, do what I asked you to do. If you know it's wrong, you might want to take it to their boss. Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones just wrote an order for 360 milligrams of Toradol. I questioned the order, but he said that that's what he wants his patient to have. And could you give me some advice on that? Should I go on and give this? And then write that shit down somewhere. That I did confirm this order with Dr. Jones. So anyway, That's responding superior. Let the master answer. And it's the probably the best of your personal malpractice defenses. That this is what the boss is responsible for. All right. So anyway, that is the law. Now, I know this section was titled Law and Ethics, but we're going to be doing ethics a little bit later in the week. We'll be talking about ethics and what it is and what it means, okay, as we talk about professional development. All right, so that's the law. That's the first half of this test. The second half will be the professional development part, which will be starting tomorrow. All right, so it is 11 o'clock. Any questions about the law or anything we've talked about so far in this lesson? No?
I have a question. What if you're working for a private practice? Who would you report it to then?
Good question. You can contact your credentialing body. In the scenario itself, what would I do? Like right that moment, because you can't contact anybody right now, but right that moment, I would refuse to give it. Doctor, I feel very uncomfortable giving this amount of Toradol. And then report it to, and they might fire you. And then report it to your credentialing body, the American Medical, the American American Association of Medical Assistants, or whatever body gives you your license or registration. Okay. Yeah, I will report it to my credentialing body and just make sure that they have somewhere on record that I refuse to give that dose of medication. And it also might be a thing that they can pursue and get you your job back and get that doctor punished or whatever. But yeah, I would just refuse to do it. And know that you're probably going to lose your job when you do refuse to do that. Doc, I looked up Toradol, and it says that the maximum dose for adults is 60 milligrams. You sure this is what you want? Mahone, go give it like I told you to. Doc, I feel really uncomfortable giving that much Toradol. So I'm not, I don't want to do that. So just refuse to do it, and then take it from there. You can also get one of those lawyers for wrongful firing and that type of stuff. I think Begum and Villarreal, they advertise wrongful termination defense and that type of stuff. But if you're working in a private practice, probably your only option is going to be just to refuse to do it, and then see how that plays out. Okay. Any other questions about the law or anything you might want to ask about it?
I have a question off this topic.
Uh-huh.
It was about something you said earlier about the presentation.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me about that again?
What about it?
Well, you mentioned something about a presentation. Do we have to give a presentation?
Yeah, I sent out the video that has all the instructions in there.
Okay, alrighty.
So check out that video. Wait a minute, was that when did I give out those instructions? Was that Friday?
I'm not sure. I don't even remember you said anything about a presentation.
Yes,
Yeah, it was Friday.
yes, it was Friday.
Melissa, were you in class Friday?
It was Monday.
Yes, I believe it was Friday.
No, that wasn't Monday. Monday was the first day of class.
Yeah, I was in class all week last week.
Okay. Yeah, well, we talked about that in the first few minutes of class Friday, with what the presentation is and what the requirements were and so on. So I don't think I sent that video, so I'll send it out today. View it in the first few minutes of the class. It's like literally the first 5 minutes of class we talked about this. So I'll send that video out today, and you can review that. It'll give you all the instructions for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mahone,
Yes.
this is Vidalia. Being that it was the first few minutes of the presentation, did it actually get recorded?
Yes, it did. Wait a minute. Okay, what is it? Okay, just because you're right, it might not be. Okay. Each student prepares a presentation, 10-minute presentation on a condition of their research. So you have to let me know what condition you want to do. On the list right there, you see some conditions that have already been taken already. And what you're going to be writing on that is these categories right here. So you have 10 minutes to choose. For example, if you choose Alzheimer's, you're going to put together a presentation for your classmates and present that on the last day of class. And in that 10 minutes, you'll tell us what Alzheimer's is, what causes it, who gets it, what are the signs and symptoms of having it, how is it diagnosed in somebody, how is it treated or cured, any lifestyle changes that will be required from having Alzheimer's, and any support organizations out there for Alzheimer's. So a 10-minute presentation over those categories. Do the research on your own, but you have to let me know what condition you want to do. We only do a condition once. So if it's already in the list or if it's already taken, then you have to choose something else or something different. And the actual list is, we also opened that this morning, is right here. There it is. Okay, so these are the things that have been taken already. So you have to choose something that's not on that list.
Mr. Mahone,
Yes.
I changed this is Talisha. I had changed the microfibrosis to cystic fibrosis.
That's right. I knew there was another one.
Okay, and so how do we let you know what are we gonna take?
You have to just let me know. You just say, Mr. Mahone, I want to do this, or Mr. Mahone, I want to do that.
Mr. Mahone, this is Roxy Amaro. I was wondering, do you think I could do Parkinson's disease?
Parkinson's?
Is that a good one?
Yes.
Parkinson's, okay.
What's not, what is not on the list? Maybe you could just pick something.
No, I can't pick something for you. You got to pick it yourself. I will email this to everybody so that you can see the whole list. Go through your textbook. See what conditions in there might be in there to interest you. If you go to the back of every chapter, there is a section on diseases. You can look through those and see if there are anything that interests you. But no, I won't pick for you, because then I'd be trying to come up with 17 or 18 different things that people have to do. So,
Mr. Mahone,
yes.
is it okay if I do lupus?
Lupus, yes. All right, so I'll email this out today. Let me save it now. As soon as we, here in just a few minutes, I'll email this out so you can look through the list and see if there's something that's already been taken or not that you're interested in. But now you're gonna have to choose your own condition.
Mr. Mahone, can I ask you a question? You always be watching the news. Is,
Yes.
you know, a guy, is he like a doctor or something called L.A. Stiff Jr. or something like that? Is, you never heard of him?
Mhm.
No? Okay.
No.
Maybe he's one of them cult leaders type crap. Okay.
I saw the other day that, oh shit, what the hell's his name? The black singer, rapper dude who's running for president. Or said
Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye.
Kanye West was late submitting his paperwork for the, for the nomination. Yeah, he's on CPT. Yeah, you don't color people time. But his paperwork in late. But anyway, no, but guys, I really want y'all to, I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say that I won't pick one for you. I really want y'all to find something that interests you rather than just going through the motions. I want you to find something that you really want to know more about. And kind of go that route rather than me pick something for everybody in class. So,
So how about I get hepatitis C?
sure, no problem. Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so it looks like the list is pretty much complete. Has anybody not selected one yet? Okay, so on the last day of class, we will be presenting all of these, about 10 minutes per person. You can do a PowerPoint like I do. And if you do the PowerPoint, email it to me. I'll pull it up while you talk. You can talk from a piece of paper in front of you, but you're going to have to send me something that I can give you a grade for. If you write it out on a piece of paper, just like you do the homework, you can take a picture of that and send it to me. You can type it out in a Word document and send that, or a Google Drive document or whatever, and send that. If you do a PowerPoint and email that to me, that's the proof that you did the project or whatever. So just something that I have that I can say, yeah, oh yeah, here's hers right there. Okay, or here's that person's or whatever. So something that gives me, where I can give you a check mark on that. So either take a picture of it or send me the PowerPoint or whatever. Again, you can do this by reading it to us, but remember, this shouldn't be the first time that you read that thing. Read it to your family members or friends. Practice saying the words that you have difficulty pronouncing and so on, so that you can give us a fairly professional presentation on it. Okay? I don't want it to be a last minute thing that you just threw together. Put a little bit of effort into it. All right. If you send a PowerPoint, well, there you go. That shows the effort right there. All right. So any other questions?
When are you going to start taking some of the homework? I can give it.
You can send the homework anytime.
Okay.
Anytime you're ready. And again, that advice, y'all, don't wait till the last minute on that. Get that homework done. And remember how to calculate your grades. 92, one test. 82, the next test. And then that is 9 and 8 is what? 17. Yeah, 9 and 9 is 17. 174 divided by 2. And go 217, what, 5 times? 8 times. Overall grade is 87. Then
One more question. Have you heard anything about us having to return back to the campus again?
Nothing yet, no.
Okay.
Not a single word. I do have a meeting over there tomorrow at 2:30. So anything they put out, I'll of course bring and share with y'all. But have y'all seen the news? There was a fraternity that got kicked off campus because they had a party on campus. Football team totally suspended their season because they had a freaking party on campus. People are not listening, y'all. Remember, it's these young folks, and since young folks traditionally don't watch the news, they're not getting the message about meetings and parties and all this mess. They're just not getting the word. They're relying on what somebody else told them. Young folks don't get it. Just like today, you still have people walking around thinking that you don't get AIDS unless you don't get HIV unless you're gay. They still have people who believe that. So even with all the news, remember now, we've been talking about it almost every day. Other people out there are just not getting the message. They still believe that young people are not vulnerable to COVID-19. And there's a bar in San Antonio that has been shut down. Their permit to operate has been shut down because they are not following the damn rules. And my wife was up at the Valero the other Sunday, and the new task force was there at the Valero. I don't know what they call. I don't remember what they call them, but it's a task force put together here in San Antonio. It's from the police department, and all they do is drive around and look for violators of mask policy and distance policy and so on. Now, primarily, they're looking at businesses, but they do have the power to issue citations to individuals. $250 fine. My wife and I said they should have went to the flea market this weekend, man. This gets on my damn nerves. I actually said something to somebody this week. After I told y'all don't be out there doing that, I actually said something to somebody this weekend. Okay. This old guy just like, not only he's not wearing a mask, but he's gonna walk like right up. I'm like, man, step back or put a mask on, damn it. Yeah, I'm talking to you. He gave me a dirty look and all that, but I don't care, y'all. You're not gonna put me at risk like that. And my wife said, I saw the people up at the Valero. I almost went over and told them they need to go out to the flea market. But there is that number that you can call. And my wife and I noticed that as we were walking around the flea market this weekend, while I was getting my car windows tinted, we just walked around. Hell, half the damn vendors weren't wearing masks. And there is that number that you can call to the city and report places. And if I go there again and see the same thing, I'm going to have the number with me this time. And I'm going to call. So anyway, it's just too many people out there that are not doing their research. So anyway, no, I haven't seen anything about that person, but guys, these college campuses, as fast as they're opening schools, they're closing them. They open a school for 1 week, and the next week they have 19 positive COVID cases, and they close the school again. So schools are being open for 1 week or 2 weeks, and then they're shut down again. Ask me, keep my kids at home, man. I'm sorry, kids are getting this stuff. And if they don't get sick from it, then they bring it home and I get sick from it. So either way, we're losing. So guys, be diligent out there. Don't. My wife bought a t-shirt yesterday over at North Park Mall. And that's another thing. We go to the mall first thing in the morning. And when people start showing up, that's when we leave. So we were at the mall for about an hour and a half. Started looking like too many people were starting to walk in. So we came on back home. But we got our shopping done. But there was a shirt that said, wash your hands and don't listen to your president. So she had to buy one. Ooh, I mean, give me one of these shirts because that woman, boy, she's Donald Trump's nemesis, y'all. She hates that man. Me, myself, I really don't give a damn. So anyway, and then guys, if you really, really care, vote. You know, young people just don't vote, y'all. I don't know if it's cynical or if you just think it won't matter, but this time it's going to matter because they have to go by the popular vote. So get out there and vote, y'all. Register, whatever, and take the time out your day to just go out and make your voice heard. Go out and vote. All right. Any other questions? No. Okay, so remember what to do at this time. I'm going to end the class now, but I'm going to leave it open like I usually do, just up until the time. If you have to log off, or if you want to log off, you can, but I'm going to leave the class itself open. So this is a good time to knock out some of that homework, man. You can get a lot of homework done in 2 hours, or start researching the projects. If you haven't picked one yet, then start looking through about anything that might interest you. And if you have picked already, then go ahead and get started on your research. This is not something you want to save to the last week. And before we log off, I do need to say this. I almost forgot, or before we end the class, I almost forgot. Wednesday, that's the day after tomorrow. Root words test. As a matter of fact, I'll go on and activate it now. And you just have to have it done by Wednesday. Go here. Go here. Quizzes.
Mr. Mahon, do you know if or when our uniforms will be ready? Is it this week?
Really
or...
big. You're breaking up real bad. Say it again.
Do you know when our uniforms will be ready to be picked up, or if they already are?
Uniforms usually come about the 3rd week of class, but obviously they haven't been in any real hurry to get those because you're not going to need them until you're going in for your lab. And of course, with me, there's no. So, but about the third week is when they've usually been showing up. All right, so I'm on this until Wednesday, which is the 26th. It's 11 o'clock, so it'll be the 26th at 11 o'clock. So that gives you tonight or tomorrow night to get it done.
So chapter 1 and 2 tests is due between today and tomorrow, correct?
You today.
Okay.
Yeah, I activated till Tuesday, but you got to get it done tonight.
Okay.
And then this one by Wednesday. Okay. So what was I doing here? I want to let me copy that. I need to do this first. Then copy this. All right. New message. Here is your link. This is combining forms. Also called root words. Do no later than Wednesday morning. Weed morning. I could use one of those. Combining forms, root word test, do no later than Wednesday morning. 8/17 and 7/27. And then the prefixes and suffixes will be Friday morning. And I'll activate that on Wednesday probably. So no prefixes and suffixes are coming up as well this week. We won't have any other tests this week because professionalism and law and ethics, we're not going to test until the weekend because we've got all week to finish those lessons. All right. So that's your root word, combining form test, due no later than Wednesday morning. Oh, let me go ahead and attach also the projects list. All right. So you've got the link, but you've also got your student presentations document in there. All those things that we've picked already. So you know what's been taken already. All right. What is that, Jazz? Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. All right. No problem there. And Jasmine already gave you vascular malformation, correct? Was that Jasmine that asked for that?
Vidalia Perez.
All right. So, Jasmine, you still here? Jasmine. No, okay. I'll reply to the email.
Vascular malformations is for Vidalia Perez.
Right. So, bipolar and diabetes are both taken already. So see that when I send the list. Okay. So anyway, that is both. All right. So that's been sent. Make sure you get that combining forms test done before Wednesday. And that's all pretty much we have to do this week, except for the other one, which I haven't activated yet. So chapter 1 and 2 should be done by tonight. And
I
then
have
you,
a question.
yes.
So like I'm doing diabetes. Do I have to do type 1 and 2?
I would touch on the difference, but then just focus your presentation on the one that you're interested in.
Type 2.
If you got into because of type 2, mention what type 1 is, but spend everything else addressing type 2 diabetes.
Okay. Got you.
Anybody else? All right, go ahead and work on what you need to work on. Do your research, study for your quizzes, take the quizzes if you're ready for it, do homework. Okay. And then we'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Be a new presentation tomorrow morning. We're going to be talking about understanding individual differences, looking at the psychology behind personality development and how to deal with or the differences in between people and personality types and so on. So that's where we're going to focus tomorrow. All right, so I'll save this. Do I want to save this? Yeah, I'll save it. What the heck? Close that, bring up a new one, and all right. So we will see y'all tomorrow morning at 8.